Hello there, everyone. Hope you're doing well. I'm Hardleg Joe, if you somehow didn't know, and today we're going to be talking about Master Duel, and also the future of this channel and the Patreon that funds it. But first, we're going to be talking about my thoughts on Master Duel, since I know that's what y'all really want to hear about, and I am a man of the people. I give the fans what they want. So, I've been playing Master Duel every day since it launched now, and overall, I would give it a rating of acceptable. It is an official Yu-Gi-Oh! Simulator, and honestly, that's all it really needed to be. The way I see it, there's only 4 real requirements that Master Duel needed to meet in order to take over as the way to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Online. It needed to include all the cards. It needed to have regular updates to add new cards, include a rank ladder, and not have awful monetization. Now obviously we can't know for sure if this will get regular updates yet, but assuming it does, then it's got everything else. It's Yu-Gi-Oh! It's actual gosh darn Yu-Gi-Oh! Not whatever Duel Links was, with Yu-Gi-Oh! With all its legs cut off. It's got all the cards, there's competitive play, and the monetization is not horrendous. I mean it's kind of bad for me specifically, but I'll get into that in a little bit. For most of you, this system will work great, because they give you enough resources to make 1 or 2 decks of your choice without having to spend any money. You get enough free gems just playing the tutorials to open about 50 packs worth, and their crafting system is generous enough so that as long as you're smart about which packs you open and what you break down, you should be able to make everything that you want. Now that being said, it is still a predatory system at its heart. At the end of the day, you are gambling to get your cards, and Konami has quite a few systems in place which only exist to prey upon your emotions and pressure you to gamble more. Like, yes, you are given a bunch of gems up front, but that's how they get you. The first taste is always free. You get to experience the thrill of opening packs, and then eventually those free gems dry up. And as new decks get revealed and you find the urge to make something different, you're going to find it more and more difficult to make what you want without spending a little bit of money. And yes, you can craft cards. But in order to craft ultra-rare cards, you need to dismantle ultra-rare cards. And the only way to get those is by playing the card pack slot machine and hoping that you pull some, because you are not guaranteed to get a single ultra-rare even if you buy packs in bulk. Now, buying in bulk does guarantee you at least 1 super rare card, which actually allows us to do a little math and figure out the cost of the average deck, which, spoiler alerts, is much higher than it should be. But let's show our work, shall we? Okay, so gems are 50 for $1, which means 100 gems is $2. The bulk packs that you need to guarantee a super rare are 1,000 gems, which is about 20 American dollars. This of course means that 1 super rare costs about $20. Now you could get lucky and pull some extra SRs in your packs, but let's go with what we know and assume that you're not lucky. If you need 3 super rares to break down and craft into 1 super of your own, and you only get 1 per bundle, that means every super rare that you want to craft is going to cost you $60 of real money. And a playset of supers will cost you $180. Now that wouldn't be that bad, except Konami has arranged it so that every archetype has at least 1 super rare that you need to play. Usually several of them. And I'm not talking about, like, staple cards, Twin Twisters, Pot of Desires. I'm talking about in-archetype engine pieces. So even if you want to build something cheap and casual, something fun like crawlers or penguins or ice barriers, you're gonna end up spending at least $180 to get your playset of key cards. Now we could probably knock some of that price off because you won't be unlucky every time you pull. You'll probably get more than one super rare. But almost every deck also requires ultra rare cards, which are even harder to pull and thus even more expensive. So, for the sake of the argument, let's be really generous to Konami and assume that, on average, factoring in supers and ultras and making you pretty lucky, a new deck is going to cost you roughly $150 of real money, which is far too much in my opinion. If you'll allow me one more brief aside, let's talk a moment about cost. Not only cost for you, but cost for Konami. One pack costs you 100 gems, or $2. In that pack, you get 8 cards, which means each card is worth roughly 25 cents. Which, don't get me wrong, is certainly cheaper than a real pack of cards, but it should be. It's a digital good. It doesn't have any manufacturing costs. It should be at least half that price, if not even cheaper. Like, there's no cardboard to print or cut, no plastic packs to make, nothing to ship or stock. They don't need factories or warehouses or machinery or workers to staff all those things. And in the case of these cards in particular, there's not even a design cost, because these are all pre-existing assets. These digital cards cost Konami practically nothing to make. They had to hire a programmer to code them at some point, but once they've done it a single time, they don't have to do it again. They get infinite free copies of that card forever. The only cost on their end is server space, and that is so inexpensive that the cost per card is not even 0.5% of a cent. Like, if we're being generous and we say that they spend 1 cent storing the data for your cards, then by charging you $0.25 per card, they are making you pay 25 times what it is actually worth. And that's just the packs. This is doubly true for the structure decks, because those are the same price as a real structure deck. They're 500 gems or $10. This despite the fact that they cost almost nothing to make. Now look, I get it. Konami is a company. They exist to make money. I'm not naive enough to expect them to just give everything out for free. But the price of a digital thing should never be even close to the price of an actual physical thing. Like, they could cut the cost of gems in half and still be making 10 times what they put into this, while also opening up the game for more people to play more decks. At the very least, if they are going to overcharge for digital items, then they could at least give us the option to just outright buy cards instead of having to gamble for them. Or if not the cards themselves, let us buy ultra-rare card points so that we can craft our own cards without having to open hundreds of dollars worth of packs and go through all the work of disassembling them by hand. But yeah, I digress. Despite all my feelings about the monetization, I still think that this game is worth playing. I just feel it's important to point out when free-to-play games are more expensive or more exploitative than they have any right to be. Now, of course, that could be said of pretty much all free-to-play games, and in fact, Konami's much better than it should be. As I said at the beginning of this, the monetization is not awful, it's decent. I just don't think that should be an excuse to grow complacent. We shouldn't accept a mediocre deal when we could be getting a good deal. Like, mediocre isn't bad, I'll still be playing the game, but anytime Konami puts up a survey asking about the cost of cards, make sure you let them know that it's too high. Don't praise them for doing what should be the bare minimum. Now, monetization aside, everything else here is pretty nice. I mean, I turned off the music after a while, it got a little repetitive, and I got tired of seeing those synchro animations, but they're not bad. They're a little repetitive, but overall the simulator is good. It's as much fun to watch as it is to play, which is very important for a spectator sport like Yu-Gi-Oh! If you want to get into the game and you don't have a gambling problem, then this is definitely the way to go. Now the problem for me personally is how this will affect my channel. If you're not familiar with my content, the main show on here for years has been What a Deck, where every other week I build a deck and then take it into random duels to show how it works and see how it compares to other decks in the current meta. Now this was usually filmed on yugioh Pro, which is a Yu-Gi-Oh! Simulator that has two big advantages over Master Duel. First, it has a way to do duels against strangers without being on a ranked ladder. And second, you have access to all the cards for free immediately. Now those two elements are actually crucial to making What a Deck, which unfortunately means I'm not going to be able to do it on Master Duel. The ranked ladder means I either have to design my decks to go against the top tier of meta threats, or they have to be complete jank. There can't really be a spot in the middle because there's going to be a progression to the opponents I face. Like, I can't really occupy this semi-competitive rogue space that I'm at now, because I'll either end up down in silver stomping the new players, or up in gold constantly losing to the meta. More importantly, though, is the cost factor. The fact that I now have to buy cards means the cost of making this show went from practically nothing, aside from, like, the initial costs of computers and lights and cameras, microphones, and whatever my time is worth, probably not much. But now it's potentially hundreds of dollars per episode, on top of all that. And this is compounded by the fact that their crafting system doesn't really favor making multiple decks. Like, it's designed for your average player, someone who will only go through 3 or 4 decks in the course of a year, with the intention being that you'll break down all the supers and ultras that you don't need in order to craft the handful of cards that you do need for your favorite archetypes. Now, I usually go through 26 different decks a year, with many of those being Patreon requests that I don't choose myself. Because of this, I kinda need to hold on to whatever cards I can get, like just in case I need to use them later. I can't afford to break down all my Lunalight cards, for example, because even if I don't plan to play Lunalights anytime soon, I may need them in the future if someone requests them. Or if they get new support and I decide I have to play them on the show. That means the cost for me is significantly higher than most players. I can't just pull to get any super rares. I have to get either extra copies of ones I already have, or cards that are so bad that no one would ever request them. So, hundreds of dollars per episode, which is not feasible for a bi-weekly show. So in short, What a Deck does not work on Master Duel. Which means, unfortunately, I'm going to have to retire the show. I mean, I could try to ignore Master Duel and just keep going on yugioh Pro, but I have a feeling that that would just result in the show dying anyway, but more slowly and painfully. If the latest episodes are any indication, people aren't really interested in watching duels on yugioh Pro, not when Master Duel exists. Unfortunately, right now, I'm in the position of a guy who owns a carriage factory, and Konami just invented the car. Like, I can't keep doing what I'm doing. It's outdated. I need to adapt, or else I'm going to be left behind. Now, there will be at least one more episode at the regularly scheduled time. Maybe 2, if there's a request that I'm forgetting about. But after that, it'll be removed from its regular slot, and in its place will be something similar, but more geared towards Master Duel. Think of it as What a Deck 2, now with fundamental differences. My current idea is something along the lines of, how far can I climb with X? Where every month I'll make a new deck, and see how far it'll take me up the Master Duel ranked ladder. In many ways, it should play out a lot like what a deck did. I'll be doing non-meta archetypes, and you'll be getting footage of me playing live while explaining the decks, making jokes, and going on whatever random tangents I happen to find myself in. The big difference here will just be the time scale. Rather than one marathon session of 10 duels that all get shown, I'll likely play on stream for several weeks and then pick highlights to be worked into the episode. And since the ladder resets every month, the show will come out once a month, probably at the end of the month, instead of every other week. Playing 12 decks a year will still be expensive, but it should be cost-effective enough for what I make in order to work out. The only downside is that one video a month leaves some gaps in the current schedule. To make up for this, I do have a couple ideas that should flesh out the month and give you the amount of content that you're used to. Now, the most obvious idea would just be to make Chaos Draft a weekly series. That show has proven very popular, and it's not possible to play it on Master Duel, so it should still have a home on yugioh Pro, at least I hope so. There's also the potential of new shows. One idea I'm already working on is something I call budget builds, where I do my best to make a deck that uses mostly normal and rare cards. These would be shorter videos similar in style to dumb decks, with me explaining how my build works and then showing it off in a replay or two so you can see it in action. I actually already have a couple decks in the works, some Crusadias, some Megaliths, as well as a list of other potential ideas, so you can expect some of those coming out soonish. Another idea I have is the Archetype Engineer, which is essentially just that deck doctor show that every Yugi tuber ever has always tried to make, just with some different branding. This would essentially be me looking at viewer-submitted decks, or viewer-submitted replays, and helping them to improve with my insight, either offering different build options, maybe even on a budget, or just explaining where misplays were made so that they can improve for the future. I'm not the best duelist, but I do know my way around things. I can help people out, especially the more casual players that make up my audience. This could also serve as an avenue for people who want to donate, since ending the What a Deck means losing all the What a Deck related rewards on my Patreon. Which actually brings me to one of the main reasons I wanted to make this video. In addition to telling you all many different things, I have some questions for you, the audience. But especially the patrons, and those people who are thinking about becoming patrons. What kind of rewards can I offer you once What a Deck finishes? What would you like to see from me now that I'm switching mostly to Master Duel? At the moment, a lot of my rewards are tied to What a Deck in some way, because it was a fundamental staple of this channel. Most of them involve sleeves or negations that I'm no longer going to be making since I can't use custom sleeves on Master Duel. There's also the episode request tier. A lot of my funding comes from that, and it will either have to end or become significantly more expensive, since I'll only be doing one deck a month, and making it will cost me actual money, so I've gotta raise the price, probably to an amount that'll be ridiculous that is probably not gonna be worth it, if I'm gonna be honest. I plan to make cheaper tiers for the Archetype Engineer show, and maybe even do requests for budget builds, but I'm not sure what else to offer that wouldn't take up a bunch of valuable recording time. Like maybe monthly tournaments on Master Duel that you can enter if you're on the Patreon? Maybe with some deck build challenge style restrictions to make it interesting? Would you all be willing to pay money for that? Let me know, and also know what is a decent entry fee for something like that. Would I need to offer some rewards to the winner, or is being on my channel enough? Any and all thoughts you have, please put them down in the comments. Anyway, while I'm here talking about myself and the channel and future content, there are a few other things I wanted to bring up. If you're just here to hear about Master Duels and What a Deck, you could probably duck out now if you want. The rest of this is just for the big fans, for the patrons who are super interested in what's going on behind the scenes and what's going on with me personally. So, for starters, I guess the biggest announcement is that I'm going to be taking a little vacation in February, where you'll probably be getting less content and possibly even no content for a couple weeks. I'd originally planned to build up some stuff to release during February, but Master Duel has kind of thrown a wrench in those plans, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to get as much as I had hoped. I'm still going to take a break, though. I'm taking it for a couple different reasons, and I guess you have a right to know that, especially if you're a patron. Firstly, I just kind of need a break in general. I've been doing this for a while, and the holidays kind of run me ragged, and having a lot of sore throats recently. Secondly, I'm getting my COVID booster that month, which may knock me out for a couple of days anyway, so might as well take the chance to rest up. Third, I need some time to put together new art assets for the new shows anyway, so I can use that opportunity to commission some artists and such. And fourthly, I have a girlfriend now. She lives a couple states away, and I'm going to visit her for a week in February, which means I won't have access to my computers and my cameras and all that stuff. Normally, I wouldn't bring up personal stuff like that in a video, but I mentioned this offhandedly on stream, and a lot of people seemed really interested, so I figured I'd at least put those out there for people who are curious. Like, yes, there is a soft leg officially in my heart now, and she is very lovely. We've been dating for about 4 months, we've met in person already before, and things are just going great. I'm really happy. It's a fun time. I'm not sure if she'll ever appear on camera. That's entirely up to her, but she does know what I do, and she's often in the stream, so check me out on stream, and maybe you'll have a chance to get a proper introduction one of these days. Anyway, once I get back from my little vacation, that's when I'll start working on all my new show ideas in earnest. My primary goal for 2022 is to improve my streaming setup, both so I can get partner on Twitch, but also that I can work it into my content a little bit more. With the What a Deck gone, I'll finally be able to stop the unpopular art streams I've been doing every Tuesday. As fun as those are, hardly anyone ever came out to them. It'd probably be much better to do Yu-Gi-Oh! Streams 2 or 3 times a week and use them to get footage for Master Duel, or test stuff on Edo Pro, Duel Against Fans, or get stuff ready for Chaos Draft. And speaking of Chaos Draft, Season 2 is almost over, and while I have a lot of ideas for how to improve Season 3 with new packs and custom packs and changing up the reward system to make things a little spicier, I have no idea who the co-host will be. Playing with Joseph is a lot of fun. I'm tempted to bring back MBT again, or maybe even Duel Logs again, but I kind of like the idea of switching things out to keep the show fresh. And originally I was going to get Jimbles for Season 3, but unfortunately he can't do it now due to his work schedule, so I'm not sure who else to ask. I don't know any other YugiTubers as well as I know Duel Logs or MBT. At least for now. One of my other big plans when I get back is to try to do a bunch of crossover DBCs with other YugiTubers and see if I can connect with some of them, see if I have any chemistry in the same way that I did with MBT or Kamina Cat or whatever. I already have quite a few people in mind, but if you've got suggestions for others I could look into, feel free to suggest them in the comments. I'm open to experimenting out in 2022. And I'm not saying these DBCs will be tryouts for Season 3 of Chaos Draft, but I'll certainly be treating them that way, at least partially, so yeah. That's my plan for 2022. Ladder show on Master Duel to replace the What a Deck, new shows in the form of budget builds and Deck Engineer, more crossovers, better streams, more streams, Chaos Draft Season 3, and a completely revamped Patreon that hopefully suits the desires of you, the modern Hardleg audience member. Oh, and the literature channel and the politics channel. I'm keeping those going. They should continue on much as they have been. No major changes there. But anyway, this has gone on far longer than I intended it to, and in fact, this is the second time I'm having to record this, so I'm going to call it here. If you made it this far, I'm going to assume that you're a Hardleg super fan, in which case, thank you. Like, genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, I would not be here without people like you who watch random update videos. Like, you are the reason that this channel is possible. You keep things going, and you have my sincere thanks for everything that you do, for all the support that you offer. Hopefully, you like the changes coming up. I know change can always be difficult. It's sure been stressful for me here, but it keeps coming no matter what. Things always gotta change. The only constant is change itself, or something like that. Anyway, until next time, good luck, and have fun.